Hi everyone, welcome to Delights to Share, and today I'll be showing you 6 Halloween party food ideas that you can make quickly and easily simply by using some store-bought food items. I'll show you how to make this spider and eyeball pizza, a Frankenstein guacamole dip, mummy meatballs, witch fingers with bloody jam, swamp juice with floating eyeballs, and the vomiting hummus pumpkin. Let's start with the spider and eyeball pizza. I'll be using 1 store-bought pizza crust, shredded mozzarella, fresh mozzarella balls, green olives, black olives, store-bought pizza sauce, and some oregano and oil. And here's how I make the spiders with the black olives. Half the olive will be the body, and the other half of the olive I cut into 6 slices to make the legs. I'm using a 13-inch round pan, which I've added olive oil and cornmeal. I also preheat the oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, and I flour my working sofa. I open the can with the pizza dough. This pizza dough comes in a square shape. So I'll just adjust it to fit into the round pan by cutting off the corners and adding the dough back to the center. I place the dough onto the pan and I continue spreading the dough all around. And I cut off any excess dough. Now I add the store-bought pizza sauce. And a drizzle of olive oil. And off it goes to the oven for 6 to 8 minutes until the crust starts to get a bit golden in color on the edges. Okay, here I take it out of the oven. I add some shredded mozzarella. You can add more if you like. And then I add the spiders made out of the black olives. And here we go. To make the eyeballs, I cut off a bit of the mozzarella balls to create a flat surface. And then on top of the mozzarella, I add the sliced green olives. I also sprinkle some oregano, and I add another drizzle of olive oil. And off it goes to the oven for another 10 to 13 minutes until the crust is fully cooked and golden. And here it's done. This is a good time to press the green olives into the warm mozzarella balls. And here's the finished spider and eyeball pizza. The second recipe is the Frankenstein Guacamole Dip. I'm using blue tortilla chips, store-bought guacamole, black olives, pretzel sticks, and the leftover mozzarella pieces from the last recipe. This is so simple. I just spread the store-bought guacamole onto a rectangular dish, covering about 2/3 of the dish with the guacamole. I cut the pretzel sticks in half and make the wacky mouth. I used 2 black olives to make the bolts on the side of Frankenstein's neck and a 3rd black olive for the nose. I use the 2 mozzarella pieces for the eyes, and with a bit of black olives, I make the iris of the eyes. I use more pretzel sticks to make some stitches on the head. Finally, the purple chips become Frankenstein's hair. And here he is all done. The third recipe is mummy meatballs. I'm using store-bought frozen meatballs, which I've defrosted first, and I also use store-bought crescent dough and mustard. I begin with preheating the oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I open the crescent dough can. I cut a strip of dough and I roll it into a long piece. Then I wrap the dough around the meatball, making sure to leave enough of an open space to where I'm going to put the mummy eyes with the mustard. I continue the same with the rest of the dough and the meatballs, and then I place them on parchment paper in a pan, and off to the oven they go for 10 to 13 minutes until they're golden in color. Here are the mummies done, and I let them cool for about 30 minutes. And then for the eyes, I place mustard in a plastic bag. I make a small hole on the tip, and then I dot the mummies with mustard on the open space I had left between the dough. And here are the finished mummy meatballs. The fourth recipe is the witch finger cookies with some bloody jam. I'm using store-bought vanilla sugar cookie mix, and I'm changing the ingredients a bit. I'll still add the egg, but I'm going to use less butter. Instead of 8 tablespoons of butter, I'm going to use only 5, and I'm going to add a half a cup of flour. All this is in order to make the dough stiffer, and that way the witch fingers don't spread out flat when you're baking. And then for the blood, I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of strawberry jam with red food coloring, and then I'm going to need sliced almonds and cocoa powder. Here's the dough that I prepared, and I refrigerated it for an hour, and I cut some parchment paper into pieces for each finger. So I take a small piece of the cookie dough, and I roll it into a long piece. The roll should be a bit thinner than your own index finger. I tear off one side to resemble the cup part of the finger, and then I make 3 indentations, squeezing between each dent so it resembles knuckles. Then with a knife, I make small slits to resemble wrinkles, but as you can notice, the knife sticks to the dough, so I dip the knife in flour and try again. Here, this is better. So I only score 2 knuckles with a knife. And I also score underneath the knuckles as well to make it look more realistic. Finally, I press a sliced almond into the tip of the finger, and I press it down well because the cookie will grow when it's baked, so the almond really needs to be embedded in the dough while it's raw. I refrigerate the fingers for about an hour, and I preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes. Finally, I take it out of the refrigerator, I pop it in the oven, 12 to 15 minutes, and bake them. To make the blood, I use 2 tablespoons of strawberry jam and about 3 to 5 drops of food coloring. I started off with 3 drops, and then I just keep checking to see if it's red enough. It's not, so I end up adding 2 more drops. So the finger cookies have baked, and they've been cooling for about 30 minutes. And I need to remove the almond nails. Some nails fall right off, others I have to remove with the help of the tip of a knife placed right under the almond. If the almond breaks, don't worry, just replace it with a new almond slice. Now I remove the nail and brush the knuckles with cocoa powder, as well as where the nail goes. Then I grab the nail, I dip the back of it with bloody strawberry jam, and then I stick it right back to the finger, and it's done. Here are the witch fingers, and I keep the bloody jam so people can just dip the finger cookies into it. Now the fifth recipe is the swamp juice with eyeballs. I'm using ginger ale and any light colored juice. In this case, I'm using pear nectar. I'll use yellow and green food colorings, green sprinkles as well. And finally, I'm using these frozen grapes, which I've put blueberries inside, and I made sure to freeze them the night before. Keep in mind, this recipe is for 2 servings, so you just multiply it for the amount of guests that you have. So I start by placing the glass in some water and then dipping it into the green sprinkles. Then I pour 1 cup of pear juice, and I add a drop of green food coloring and a drop of yellow food coloring. I stir it well. And I pour this into 2 glasses. Then I pour 1 cup of ginger ale into the 2 glasses, and the swamp juice is almost ready. I add 2 or 3 frozen grapes into each glass, and the swamp juice with eyeballs is done. The 6th and final recipe is the vomiting hummus pumpkin. I'll use a small pumpkin, store-bought hummus, and blue tortilla chips. I begin by drawing the face onto the pumpkin. Next, I cut the top off the pumpkin so I can begin taking out the seeds and the flesh inside. Scraping the inside with a knife helps loosen everything up. And then I spoon out as much as I can. I also remove any loose flesh and seeds off the top that I had cut off. Now I'm ready to carve out the pieces of the face that I had drawn onto the pumpkin, and I use a small knife. And here's the pumpkin's face, a bit wide-mouthed since he'll be vomiting. And here are all the recipes I just showed you. I'll finish with the hummus vomiting pumpkin. I place a strip of wax paper out of the pumpkin's mouth onto the dish. This helps keep the hummus in place. I then carefully spoon the store-bought hummus onto the wax paper. And finally I add some chips, and the vomiting hummus pumpkin is done. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching these 6 simple Halloween recipes, and if you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so I can share more recipes with you. Any comments or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for coming, and bye for now.